What's going on, Master Duel fans? James here again. This time we completed the SYNCHRO side of things, and for the deck profile for you fans to showcase based on the winner of the SYNCHRO summoning voting polls would be Deep Sea Atlanteans. Generally, the idea is that the way how this works is that, of course, the whole concept, if you notice, is literally nothing but water monsters, and you got two pieces of different engine archetypes that focuses on one of two things. Deep Seas, not counting Diva for one, with the likes of Minstrel, Sentry, and Aria, they tend to look at your opponent's hand to make sure, can confirm, and because I know what deck you play, it's basically do some cheesy combo lines, rip away hand traps, board breakers, and many more. So, with that being said, let us get into the deck profile for you guys. 3 Deep Sea Diva. If anybody remembers the life and times of Deep Sea Diva ever since Mermaid Atlanteans and or Sprites, then you guys know what's up about Deep Sea Diva. Not once a turn, upon normal summon, special 1 level 3 or lower, Sea-Serpent from the deck, copies of Deep Sea Diva included. And then the one of Deep Sea cards, Deep Sea Artisan, level 1, no attack, 500 defense. Upon being added from deck or graveyard to your hand by an effect of a water monster, reveal this, look at your opponent's hand. If this card is special summoned, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, target 1 level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard that isn't Deep Sea Artisan, special it out, but negate its effects. Each effect once. And then Deep Sea Sentry, level 2, 400 attack, 2000 defense, way too large for some reason of a level 2. If this card is sent to the graveyard just because of a water monster's effect, make your opponent banish 1 card from their hand face up until the end phase. And then upon being special summoned, send the top 2 from deck to graveyard, then target 1 level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard that isn't Sentry, add it back to your hand. Each effect of Sentry once. And then this is the best Deep Sea monster outside of Diva, no questions asked. Level 3, 1200 attack, 1500 defense, courtesy of Deep Sea Minstrel. And she happens to be a tuner. All of the Deep Sea monsters happens to be water Sea-Serpent, of course. When it comes to Minstrel, each effect once. Discard this card and 1 water monster, look at your opponent's hand, and banish 1 card from their hand face up until the end phase. Basically, hand knowledge, and because you know what deck they are playing, this lets you combo off accordingly. And then, upon special summon, send the top 3 from deck to the graveyard, target 1 level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard that isn't Minstrel, place it on top or bottom of the deck. Each effect of Minstrel once. And then the honorary Deep Sea spells. Deep Sea Aria, just only 1 because hard once per turn on the activation. The case is, banish a water from your graveyard, add 1 level 4 or lower Sea-Serpent from deck to hand. Most cases, when it comes to level 4 or lower Sea-Serpents, you have literally every last one of these smaller deep sea monsters and smaller level of Atlanteans between Prince and Dragoon do not count Poseidra. He's too high level, just so you guys know. And then Magellanica, the Deep Sea City. This card's name is Umi. Upon activation, place one water monster from your deck on top of your deck. So basically, stacking the deck against, or in your favor, I should say. And then once per turn, target one water monster you control, increase its level by 1 or 2 until the end of this turn, even if it leaves. Basically, level modulation for Synchro Summon. And once per turn during your main phase, upon special summon a water synchro, look at your opponent's hand, and if you do, banish one card from it face up until the end phase. So basically, that is your hand knowledge of the crew. Now, the Atlanteans. The name of the game about Atlanteans, they are all about triggering their graveyard effects just because of water monsters. To be specifically, they all do something as mandatory effects. Now, Poseidra, the Atlantean Dragon, level 7, 2800 attack, 1600 defense. You contribute 3 level 3 or lower water monsters, special this out from your hand or graveyard. When you do, return all spell and trap cards everywhere on the field to the hand, and if you do, if 3 or more cards are returned to the hand by this effect, all monsters your opponent controls, currently controls, lose 300 attack for each. 3 Atlantean Dragoons, basic. 3 Atlantean Marksmen, basic. 3 Atlantean Heavy Infantry, basic. And then 3 Neptibus, the Atlantean Prince, the heart and soul of the Atlantean crew. Dragoons. Not once a turn. Upon being sent to the graveyard just because of a water monster's effect, add 1 Sea-Serpent from deck to hand that isn't a copy of Atlantean Dragoons. And as a continuous effect, all level 3 or lower Sea-Serpents can direct attack. Atlantean Marksmen. 3 of them, of course. Upon battle damage to your opponent, special 1 level 4 or lower Atlantean Sea-Serpent from your deck that isn't Marksman. And upon being sent to the graveyard just because of a water monster effect, this mandatory effect is to target a set card your opponent controls, kill it. And then Heavy Infantry's graveyard effect, because of a water monster's effect, instead of a set card, it targets and destroys a face-up card your opponent controls. Not once a turn on Marksman and Infantry's mandatory effects. And on top of that, Heavy Infantry is the double summon of level 4 or lower Sea-Serpent in terms of level 2, no attack, 1600 defense. And then Neptibus, the Atlantean Prince, level 1, 800 attack, no defense. All of the Atlantean crew are water Sea-Serpents. Send 1 Atlantean monster from deck to the graveyard as cost that isn't Neptibus. This lets you add 1 Atlantean card from deck to hand that isn't Neptibus. And upon being sent to the graveyard just because of a water monster's effect, target 1 Atlantean monster in your graveyard that isn't Neptibus, special it out. Each effect once. Oh, and how can I forget this little guy? Legendary Atlantean Tridon. Level 3, 1600 attack, 800 defense. And of course, honorary Atlantean crew of a water Sea-Serpent. not once a turn, tribute this card and one Sea-Serpent, special one Poseidra, the Atlantean dragon, from your hand or deck. Then, all monsters your opponent currently controls lose 300 attack. So, out of the Atlantean crew, to be specific, if you guys noticed from this list, I am not playing Attack Squad to be specific, because in my version of the build, I'm all about taking a look at your opponent's hand and gaining all of the information and knowledge as much as I can. And of course, TCG Land, welcome back, Tidal, Dragon Ruler of Waterfalls. If you aren't too familiar with Tidal, here's what's up with him. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can banish a total of 2 water and or dragons, most cases 2 waters since we are playing waters, from hand and or graveyard that isn't Tidal, special it out. During your opponent's end phase, if this card was special summoned, kick it back to the hand. Discard this and 1 water monster to the graveyard. Send 1 monster from your deck to the graveyard, so Foolish Burial any monster, and then upon being banished, add 1 water dragon from deck to hand, Tidal included. But the thing is, in TCG Land, he's at 1. 1 effect per turn, and only once that turn, so 1 effect or the other, can't do both. And then the honorary Atlantean spell, well, the only Atlantean spell, Call of the Atlanteans. This is the best spell card in the main deck, no questions asked, because the turn you use Call of the Atlanteans, you can't special any other monsters. The case is, target 3 level 3 or lower Sea-Serpent monsters in your graveyard, special all 3 of them. Most cases, Sea-Serpent Soul Charge for level 3 or lower Sea-Serpents. And rule of thumb, by the way, this is a rule of thumb. Anytime, whenever you're in a situation where Call by the Grave comes up, if your opponent hits one of the 3 Soul Charge targets in terms of Call of the Atlanteans, you will never be able to get all 3 of the Sea-Serpents out, because it doesn't say up to, it says exactly 3 level 3 or lower Sea-Serpents. So if one goes away, all of them will not be special summoned out. Now, for the rest of the spells and traps. Foolish Burial, it's mainly for Tidal and or Poseidra at the very most. Tactics Talent, just the one. Book of Moon. Book of Moon comes up clutch in some scenarios. Same goes for Call By and Blizzard. Blizzard is the MVP in terms of skip a turn, fusion summon cards, and or board breakers in Dual Triangle, to be specifically. And when I say this stops board breakers, this stops everything in terms of spells in general that isn't super poly, which is absolutely insane. And then 3 Forbidden Chalice. This card comes up in a decent amount of matches, to be specific. Definitely love the card a whole lot. Cosmic Cyclones, 3 of them. Card is nice. And then 3 Imperms, basic. And then extra deck. Crystron Quandax, level 4, 1800 attack, 2000 defense, of a level 4 Water Machine Synchro Tuner, generic 4. Once per chain during your opponent's main or battle, you can immediately after this effect resolves, put up a Synchro Summon. So literally Formula Synchron, and then including this card as material. And then upon the destruction of this Synchro Summon card by battle or card effect. Target one Crystron monster in your graveyard that isn't a Synchro, special it out. Realistically, this is meant for Synchro Climb. Sea Dragon Lord Gishilnodon. Water Sea-Serpent Synchro, level 5, 2300 attack, 1800 defense. 1 tuner, 1 level 3 non-tuner monster. When a face-up level 3 or lower monster anywhere on the field is sent to the graveyard, this card's attack becomes 3000 until the end phase of this turn. Sea Dragon did not come up at all, but at the same time, it's meant for being the biggest beater if possible. Crystron Emitrix. Level 5 Water Machine Synchro, 2500 attack, 1500 defense. Upon Synchro Summon as a generic 5, change all face-up special summon monsters your opponent controls to defense mode. And then if the Synchro Summon card gets killed by battle or card effect, target one Crystron monster in your graveyard that isn't a Synchro monster, special it out. Realistically, Emitrix is meant for the first effect. And Emitrix came up once, and all I can say is the battle position changes nice so that you are able to get over bigger monsters with weaker defense as much as you could. This is the best level 5 Synchro in terms of the Synchro summoning from the extra deck. No questions asked. Deep Sea Repetiteur as a level 5 Water Sea-Serpent Synchro Tuner, 1800 attack, 1500 defense. And the requirements to be specifically Deep Sea Diva and one or more non-tuner monsters to make it as a level 5. Once per turn as a quick effect, discard one level 4 or lower water monster. This card gains extra 800 attack until the end of this turn. And then if this Synchro Summon card is sent to the graveyard, target one level 5 or higher water monster in your graveyard that isn't Deep Sea Repetiteur, special it out in defense. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except water monsters. But that's okay. The whole entire main and extra are water monsters, so the restrictions of Repetiteur doesn't matter at the slightest. White Aura Dolphin. Generic, level 6 Synchro, 2400 attack, 1000 defense. Hey, Monarch stats. As a fish Synchro, and the effect is once per turn, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes half of its original attack until the end of this turn. Solid. And then if this card in your possession gets killed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, you can banish one other water monster from your graveyard, special this out as a tuner. White Aura Monoceros. Level 7 Water Fish Synchro, 2500 attack, 1500 defense. And the requirements are one water tuner and one or more non-tuner water monsters to make it. And when it comes to White Aura Monoceros, upon being Synchro Summoned, well, when this card is Synchro Summoned, target one fish monster in your graveyard, special it out. Now, when it comes to fish type monsters, the only fish in general that you have in terms of legal targets, you have 1, 2, 3 fish targets in general, and we will get to those fish in a moment aside from the dolphin, which we've been through earlier. So the thing is, when it gets Synchro Summoned, target one fish in your graveyard, special it out, but it cannot attack this turn. And then the effect of Monoceros once, and then if this card you control gets killed by a battle or opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, banish one other water monster from your graveyard, special this out, and if you do, make it a tuner. So, White Aura, Dolphin, Monoceros, effects are nice. Deep Sea Prima Donna, level 7 Water Sea-Serpent Synchro Tuner, 1500 attack, 2700 defense, as a generic 7. Your opponent cannot target a synchro monster that used this card as material within monster effects specifically. To get around that thing, well, to get around her effect, spells and traps that targets. So that way, there shouldn't be any issue. Each effect of Deep Sea Prima Donna once. You can target one of your opponent's banished cards, add it back to your hand, or special summon one level 4 or lower water monster from your deck, and if you do, add that target to their hand. Most of the times when it comes to Prima Donna, she is meant for synchro climb to some degree, which is nice. And then upon being sent to the graveyard, target one banished card, shuffle it back to the deck. Glacial Beast Iceberg Narwhal, level 7 Water Aqua Synchro, 2700 attack, 1600 defense, and the requirements are 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner water monsters to make it. Each time another monsters, more than one, you control gets killed by battle in terms of opponent's attack or card effect, burn your opponent for 600. And then during the battle phase, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control another monster as a quick effect, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. And that effect is once per turn. White Aura Whale, level 8 Fish Synchro, 2800 attack, 2000 defense, 1 water tuner, and 1 or more non-tuner waters to make it, as a level 8 watery synchro. When this card is synchro summoned, destroy all of your opponent's attack position monsters. It is a built-in Cyber Twin Dragon. If it attacks a defense monster, pierce battle damage. So built-in Cyber Twin and Cyber End at the same time. If this card in your possession gets killed by opponent's card and sent to the grave, banish one other water from the graveyard, special it out as a tuner. So basically, Dolphin, Monoceros, and a Whale, all of them do the same thing upon their destruction, which is interesting. Adamanticipator Risen Dragite. This is the best, well, one of the best, level 8 generic synchros, aside from the ties of the White Aura Whale in terms of generic water decks in general. These two, in terms of level 8s, these been made a lot more than any other 8-star synchros in general from the card pool inventory. We all know what's up with Dragite ever since Sword Souls, been using this for quite some time. Basically, if you have at least one water in your graveyard, this makes it so that you have a spell trap card or spell trap effect negate, and if you do, destroy it. Negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And that effect is once. The excavation doesn't matter, but the idea is spell trap negate. Basic. Trishula. Everybody and their mother knows what's up with Trishula ever since those hand loops these days. And then Ravenous, Crocodragon, Archithes, generic 9, 1000 both ways as a water fish synchro. Gains 500 attack and defense for every card in your hand, and then each effect once. Upon synchro summon, draw cards equal to the number of non-tuners used for the synchro summon, and on top of that, discard 2 cards, target 1 card anywhere on the field, kill it, and that is a quick effect. Sword Soul, Shen Ying, basic. We know what's up with Sword Soul. And then Ice Jade, Gimir, Adrian. Now, when it comes to Ice Jade, to be specifically, one water tuner and one or more non-tuners to make it as a level 10 Water Aqua Synchro, 3000 attack, 1500 defense. As a quick effect, activate this. Face-up monsters you control cannot be killed or banished by your opponent's card effects this turn. Then, if you activated this effect in response to your opponent's card or effect activation, and your opponent has 8 cards with that name on their field and or graveyard, you can banish those cards. If a card's more than one is banished while this card is in your graveyard outside of the damage step, special this out. Each effect of Ice Jade, Gimir, Adrian once. And this has been the Synchro Summoning deck profile of Deep Sea Atlantean. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you haven't already, smash the notification bell to keep yourself constantly updated. And we'll catch you guys in the next part of the event.